everyone, I hope this finds you well. Welcome to Winnie the Music Educator. Today's episode is the final part of the budding stage, where there are so many defining moments that actually led to my path as a music educator. And this is where I got so much encouragement and just things that happened, events that happened, that made me realize that I was designed to become a teacher eventually. All the way from primary school, I would actually find myself in situations where my peers would seek me out to just go through concepts that were taught in class that they didn't understand, so that I could explain them better for them. I was very, very good in mathematics, and I would be so happy when they finally got the concepts, and eventually the teacher even would call me out to come in front of the class to help her explain some things. So when I went to secondary school, I fell in love with a new subject at the time called chemistry. I used to love, the titration of the experiments, and I would remember sometimes I would even know the outcome before I've done the experiments. But when I was doing my O-levels, at this time I was a head girl, and I had my own cubicle, and I would actually make appointments with my colleagues, my classmates, to just go through chemistry with them. And then again, I found myself in a situation where I would explain things, and this way then we came up with ways where we would actually memorize the coursework better. Then in the course of my high school, obviously music came along, and when I started learning how to play tunes that I taught myself, I found a lot of my classmates again who were interested in knowing how to play. So the little that I learned, I found myself passing on to them. I felt so thrilled, and I found so much satisfaction when I was able to teach somebody a small tune and they could get it. After high school, I realized as a firstborn with 4 other siblings, I needed to do something to help my parents fend for my siblings, including just taking them through school. I decided, to go out, and instead of sitting at home and waiting for results and university placement, I decided to just look for opportunities where I could hone my music talent and also be able to find a way of earning a living, so that at least then I could be able to help out at home. And I was so glad when I got connected to a church through a friend at that time. And in this church, apparently the missionaries used to come in from abroad and bring in a lot of music books with a lot of church music, hymns, contemporary choruses and all. And I was at a point where my reading skills had become so good, and I actually noticed that once I joined the church, slowly I found in the archives lots of untouched material with music that nobody ever knew existed, because we didn't have, I guess there wasn't anyone who could really read this music that much. We had 1 or 2 people who would read music to some level, but then when I came in, because of my thirst to read new scores, I remember unleashing so much of this music that had just been kept away, and slowly started teaching the young people in the church, the youth. In fact, I became a youth leader at some point, and actually a church pianist. So every week we would practice lots of songs and then present them during church. So 1 year in, and new pastors, missionaries came to the church, and I remember this particular couple were so thrilled to find a young person like me who can read music very proficiently and be able to just sight play, scores of hymns and other songs, and they really encouraged me to do something more. And I remember, because I had a lot of the young people there who wanted to learn to play or sing, and I used to end up just giving them short, small lessons, which I didn't actually charge for. But then when these missionaries came, they said, how can we support you to develop? What's your need? And I remember thinking through that and saying, wow, okay, I do have a need. I have a need to make some money. I have a need to make ends meet, just for everyday needs, supporting my brothers and sisters and my parents in fending for them. And then also I knew that I needed to start saving up for university. So, they gave me the the opportunity to have a room within the church compound, because we had many rooms, where I was able now to at least get my own private space and start music lessons. But of course now the challenge came that once I was given this room, I had to find, where do I get a piano, because I couldn't carry the piano from the church to do the lessons. And I remember, in fact, for a while I had to start teaching in the church itself. Then an opportunity came along. There was a Rwandese immigrant at the time who had run away from the genocide that was happening in their country at that time, and he happened to be here, and he even had a piano. He actually used to be one of the congregants, and he came to me and asked me whether I would be interested in hiring his piano. So obviously I jumped to the opportunity. At that time I didn't even think, oh, how much is he going to charge me or something. I just said, wow, if you have a piano, I would love to make use of it, and the pastors have just given me a room. So we came to an agreement, because I was still starting. We came to an agreement on a fee that I was going to pay every end of month. And this is where also my business acumen got nurtured, or rather I got that spark to want to do my own business. You know, felt that excitement that, wow, you know, I will be paying rent for a piano, and I have an opportunity to having students whom I'm going to charge for lessons. So it was really a defining moment, and it was really exciting. And off I went. I started teaching just like that. I remember my mother joking at some point that, wow, that, you know, she was so shocked to see, you know, me coming home with bread and milk, and she even joked about it and said, you know, your late grandma was a very good businesswoman. She used to sell fish in the market up country, and she did a good job. That's how they actually got fed, because my mom's dad at that time used to work a bit far off, and he had been recruited as a cook for the white man, you know, so he wasn't really available that much at home, and my grandma had to take the role of father and mother a lot of times, and do a bit of business selling fish to be able to provide for them. So apparently that seed was passed on to the grandchild, who was me. Another defining moment or opportunity that came along to use my skill in reading music was when I was hired to be at the Kenya Music Festival, which happens yearly, to become an official accompanist. And I remember this was really challenging at the time, because you'd be given stacks of different types of music that you had never actually really seen before. Music, you know, whether it was for solo singing, duets, choral, and you'd have all these groups that are competing, you know, coming from all over Kenya, because at that time the music festival nationals were centralized in Nairobi. So I was one of the accompanists who used to be given all these stacks of music to just play on site, and if you were even lucky to get a few minutes before going on stage to just like play through, I mean, that was really just sheer luck. So I would find myself in a situation where I'm reading scores of music in different keys, different timings, all the time for a whole week. It was exhausting, but then again it was really exciting, and this was the perfect opportunity for me to really hone my skill of being able to play music on site. So I do not take for granted that opportunity, and I'm just glad that I got that opportunity to do that. You know, I thank the music festival officials for giving me the opportunity to do that, and even the choirs and the participants who believed that I could do for them the job, and I did do a good job. And even this is the place also I met a couple of colleagues whom to this day we work together, and we are really good friends. By the time I went to the university, I was already established as a well-known piano and vocal instructor at the church, and I had quite a number of clients who really supported me in teaching, and they actually supported me also in terms of paying for my lessons. And even the music festival, helped me to actually be able to earn a living and just save money that I actually used at the university. So I had quite a good name out there in terms of music performance and education. And by the time now I was going to the university, now this was something that was actually now reinforced in my mind, really what I wanted to do. Because up until then, I already had another career in mind, careers that I had chosen before, and I thought I was going to pursue them. But then something just triggered that probably I need to reevaluate really what I want to do in my life. I would really want to thank all those people who are involved at this stage of my life in my musical journey. The pastors, the church officials. I would like to thank all those clients who believed in me in my time of the youth and encouraged me to do what I really wanted to pursue in future. And then also at the same time, I would like to encourage, this is just really a final encouragement that I learned from this stage, that, if you want to grow in your talent, in your gift, in your skill, number one, you've got to make yourself available to serve. Just by saying, you have a little time, and especially for the young people, we find out young people find themselves with a lot of time, and sometimes you're wondering, what am I going to do this time? Just volunteer your service, volunteer your time, be in an environment that can open your eyes and help you to nurture your gift. And you never know. You also never know the people you'll meet along the way, who will be some of the people who will spur you on and steer you on. So I do encourage that. I also encourage that opportunities come and go, and don't ever trivialize an opportunity. Supposing I had not gone around looking for books at the church, for example, I would never have known that I could come up with some of the most beautiful productions that I did in that same church, just using the same material. So utilize all that you find along the way, the materials, the resources, and you will go far. Our next episode will be the sparkling stage, and this happened during my university years. Remember to like, share, and leave a comment about this episode, as I always look forward to hearing from you. Do subscribe to my YouTube channel, Winnie the Music Educator, via the link provided.